I am highly excited to be here today to discuss mathematics in our video Mathematics Simplified. My name is Joseph Jacob. Today, we are going to give attention to fraction. What comes to your mind when you hear the word fraction? The English word fraction is derived from a Latin word fractus. Literally, fractus means broken. It means that when we talk about fraction, we are talking about something that used to be one initially, that has been broken down, sliced, or cut into equal parts or pieces. Each of these parts becomes a fraction of the whole. Let's take a loaf of bread, for example. This loaf of bread is sliced into 7 parts. It means that each of these 7 pieces of bread becomes a fraction of the whole bread. Now, fractions often do have 3 parts. The first part is the number above. We have another number below. We now have a bar, which is called a fraction bar, separating the number above and the number below. Now, we've seen that the bar is called the fraction bar. What about the number above the fraction bar? The number is called numerator, while the number below the bar is called denominator. The number below, that is the denominator, is the total pieces of the item we are looking at. In our example with breads, we can see that this bread has been sliced into 7 parts. Because the bread has been sliced into 7 parts, that 7 parts will now make the denominator to be 7. Now, if you take 1 out of this 7, that 1 you've taken out becomes the numerator, the number above. So if you want to represent taking 1 of these 7 breads out, you now have 1 which you've taken out, which is the numerator. We have the fraction bar. Below we have 7, which is the initial total of the pieces of bread. Now, let's look at types of fractions. Basically, there are 3 types of fractions. The first is the proper fraction. The second is the improper fraction. The third is the mixed fraction. Let's look at the 3 of them briefly. Proper fraction. From our discussion on the 7 pieces of bread, you will notice that you can't take more than the 7 pieces because there are 7 pieces. And if you take exactly 7 pieces, you have 7 above, the bar, fraction bar, 7 below, 7 over 7, which means 1, because you've taken the entire bread. But if you take any of them, One of them, two of them, three, four, five. You have 5 over the total 7. 5 over 7. So you understand that in a proper fraction, the denominator will always be more than the numerator. The number above should be smaller than the number below. That is a proper fraction. An improper fraction is the reverse, where you now have a bigger number as the numerator and a smaller number as the denominator. The last type of fraction is the mixed fraction. The mixed fraction means you have a whole number, you also have a fraction mixed together. That is why it is called a mixed fraction. Is it possible to have a whole number and a fraction practically? The answer is yes. Now, take this example. If two students were asked to share 5 oranges, how will they share it? They need to share it equally. How will they share it? Student A will take 2 oranges. It will remain 3. Student B will also take 2 oranges. It will remain 1. Now, how will they share this remaining 1 orange? They will get a knife and slice the orange into 2. Once you've done that, it is no longer a whole orange. It is no longer a complete orange. It's now orange of 2 parts, orange of 2 fractions. So when you take one of the 2 parts, it now becomes 1 over 2, half. Now, if you want to represent that each of the students got 2 oranges and a half orange, how will you express it numerically? Definitely, you write 2 as a whole number. Then after the 2, you now write 1 over 2 to show it is 2 and half. The 2 you wrote initially is the whole number. The 1 over 2, the half, is now a fraction. So you've now combined a whole number and a fraction together. So in that case, you now have a mixed fraction. Now, it's important you learn how to convert an improper fraction to a mixed fraction, and how to convert a mixed fraction to an improper fraction. This will help you to solve problems that has to do with fraction when you have a mixed fraction in the problem. So we'll go to our whiteboard now and see how to convert a mixed fraction to an improper fraction, and how to convert an improper fraction to a mixed fraction. So take your pen and paper and join me as we go to the whiteboard. Let's start with converting improper fraction to mixed fraction. Let's take some examples and see what we're expected to do in this case. Our first example is 12 over 5. 12 over 5 is the improper fraction we are trying to convert to a mixed fraction. Always remember that this denominator is always constant. When it is in the improper fraction mode, as it is now, it is 5. If you still convert it to mixed fraction, it will always be 5. So remember that. Now, to convert that, what we need to do is to say 5 divide 12. If 5 divide 12, it will be 2, 2. So that 2 will be in the whole number form. Now, how many is remaining from this 12? When 5 divide it, it will remain 2. So 2 becomes the new numerator all over the constant, which is 5. So you have now converted 12 over 5, which is an improper fraction, to the mixed fraction 2 whole number 2 over 5. Another example is when you have 9 over 2. 9 over 2 is another improper fraction. To convert it to mixed fraction, you say 2 into 9, it will be 4. So that 4 will be a whole number. It will remain 1. So the 1 becomes the new numerator all over 2, which will always be constant. So 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. And so that is why you have 4 whole number 1 over 2. Let's take another example. When you have 3 over 2, 3 over 2, when you want to convert this, 2 into 3 will give us 1. That 1 will be a whole number. Remainder 1 over 2, which is this. Another example is 11 over 3. 11 over 3. 11 over 3 means 3 into 11 will give us 3, and that 3 will be whole number. Remainder 2 over 3. That is how to convert from improper fraction to mixed fraction. Let's take some 1 or 2 more examples. 33 over 10. 33 over 10. 10 into 33. You know you have 30. 10 into 30 will give you 3. So you have 3 whole number. It remains 3 over 10. Let's take the last example. We have 5 over 2. 5 over 2. 2 into 5 will be 2, so the 2 will be 2 whole number. Remainder 1 over 2. So the process of converting improper fraction to a mixed fraction is simple. The denominator, whether it is 2, it will always remain 2 after the conversion. If it is 10, it will remain 10. If it is 3, it will remain 3. If it is 2, it will remain 2. If it is 2, it will remain 2. If it is 5, it will remain 5. So the denominator remains constant. All you need to do is to divide. If 5 divides 12, it will be 2, 2. That 2 becomes the whole number. How many will remain? It will remain 2, because when 5 divides 10, it will be 2, 2. 12 will remain 2. So the 2 becomes the new numerator. You keep the denominator, which remains constant. That is simply what we did in all of them to get this. So let's now try to convert mixed fraction to an improper fraction. If we have 2 whole number 2 over 5, the way to do this is this denominator will always remain constant. So even after you've converted to improper fraction, your denominator will be 5. From here to here, what you have to do is to multiply. Whatever you get, you take it from here to here, you add. Whatever you now get will be the numerator, while the denominator remains 5. So if we do it with this, we'll have 5 times 2 will give us 10. 10 plus this 2 will give us 12. So you have 12 as your new numerator. The denominator remains 5. So 2 whole number 2 over 5 converted to improper fraction will give us 12 over 5. Let's consider other examples. Another example is 4 whole number 1 over 2. It will give us 2 times 4 is 8. 8 plus 1 is 9.
9 over 2. Another one is one whole number 1 over 2. It will give us 2 times 1, 2. 2 plus 1, 3. 3 over 2. Another one is 3 whole number 2 over 3. 2 over 3 will give us 3 times 3, 9. 9 plus 2 is 11 over 2. Another example is 3 whole number 3 over 10. 10 times 3 will give us 30. 30 plus 3 will give us 33 all over 10. Another example is 2 whole number 1 over 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5 over 2. So these are some examples of how to convert mixed fraction to improper fraction. What you just do is you multiply the denominator with the whole number. 2 times 2 is 4. Whatever you've gotten as your answer, which is 4 in this case, we add it to 1, which is 5. What we've gotten now will now become our new numerator, while, as I said earlier, the denominator will remain constant.
This is where the curtain falls on today's video. Our next video will focus on solving problems that has to do with fraction. Specifically, we'll see how to add fractions, how to subtract fractions, how to multiply fractions, and how to divide fractions. But before we do that, there is something very, very important we need to learn. LCM. Some people call it lowest common multiple. Others call it least common multiple. Yet others call it least common divisor. No matter what you call it, for you to add or subtract fraction, you must know how to find the LCM of the denominators. We'll start our next video with learning how to find LCM of a group of numbers. There are so many methods to do that, and we'll look at all of the methods. Then we'll start carrying out operations that have to do with fractions. Thanks for watching this video.